The first town I came to in Morocco was Tangier. I found it a beautiful and fascinating place. It lies on the Atlantic, just across the straits from Gibraltar. Now it's a sad town too. No longer a free port, its trade is declining. The Spanish influence on the Moorish peasants shows that here Europe and Africa meet. The people are mostly Moors, that is Moroccans, and they still live their traditional life. Tangier is a complete mixture of races. Much of it is smart and modern, built by the French and Spanish. From 1912 until recently, this international city and free port was ruled by 8 different nations. The signs are still in 3 languages, Spanish, French and Arabic. But now the Moroccan government is in sole charge. Many foreigners are leaving, but there are still 15,000 Spaniards here, and they've just built a new church. There's also an Anglican church. The British have always loved Tangier. There's still nearly 2,000 of them here, and many still lead leisurely lives in their luxury villas. Who can blame them for wanting to hang on to paradise? I talked to Lady Scott, widow of a former Chief Justice in India. She said she first came to Tangier 60 years ago, when it was a mere fishing village. Is Tangier very different today?
Oh, there's a building. It's full of these terrible big flats, which are getting half empty now since the people have gone away. There's no work or trade, or the money's all gone to Switzerland. And
so Tangier is in a bad way at the moment.
It's very poor, and there's not so much work as there used to be.
How do you see the future?
Well, they promised to bring works here, but I don't know when they will. I have faith that Tangier is a place that will rise. I think Tangier has it in it to rise somehow, if it's allowed to.
Why do you think that?
Because Tangier has a vitality in it. It's got a life.
But for the moment, this life seems at a standstill. The shops that thrived on the easy market are closing down. The big British bank in Tangier, the British Bank of West Africa, is now no more than initials on a doormat. The Moroccans have taken it over. The famous free currency banks are now state lottery counters. And the fine flats built with such frenzy in the post-war boom are now half empty. The Europeans are going back home. But the Moroccans have nowhere to go. Tangier's decline has hit them hardest. Unemployment and poverty is rife. At his Novara bar, I talked to Paul Lund, the Birmingham smuggler, who now runs the bar because, as he said, the bottom's been knocked out of Tangier's smuggling trade. Now, while you've been here, you've done a lot of smuggling?
Well, when I first came here, this was a smuggler's port. There was as many as 70, 80 fast launches working out of Tangier to Italy, France, Spain, all these places, and it was easy for a man who was a seaman to earn a little money. I could earn $1,000 for going to sea for 10 days.
Did you like smuggling?
Sure. Passed the time away. It was a nice life. You was at sea maybe 10 days. Little excitement, perhaps.
Has Tangier changed a lot since the good old days?
Well, you see, it's a different story. In the old days, before 56, when it was an international zone, this place was, its industry was the free port and the free money market. Every currency juggler in the world was here. There were 185 banks. All the international trash and riffraff was here, and it was a great place, and it boomed, and they had a sort of token police force that sort of kept order on the streets, and the place was wide open. Altogether different atmosphere to what it is now. Now it's part of Morocco. It's still a very pleasant place to come. It's respectable. Everyone's perfectly safe here. There's no skullduggery going on, but it ain't so interesting.
Do you see any future for it?
As a tourist place, yes.
A town so beautiful and varied may well be able to rise again as a tourist centre. Maybe Lady Scott and Paul Lund are right to be optimistic. Tangier is the gateway to Africa, the nearest bit of the Arab world to England. From there I drove south to Marrakesh. We drove through miles of fertile farmland, much of it still owned by French settlers. There's a big difference between the barren ex-Spanish zone, barely exploited, and this former French zone colonized with such skill. I found Morocco a country rich in resources, agriculture and minerals, but unsure how to make the best use of them. Marrakesh, the town Sir Winston Churchill loves, is capital of the south. It lies on the edge of the high Atlas Mountains, excellent for skiing. Yet Marrakesh itself is subtropical. It's a graceful town with a slow tempo, remote from the noise of Casablanca. Orange trees line the main streets. You can pick them if you want, but mostly they're bitter for marmalade. I visited the hotel where Churchill stayed, and my guide had been Churchill's guide. He showed me some of the places Churchill had painted in Marrakesh. The Koutoubia Mosque, one of the great buildings of Islam, and the tombs of the old kings of Marrakesh. Then he took me to the fabulous marketplace, where at sunset each day the crowds gather to watch the entertainers from the Sahara. The storyteller was reciting a tale from the 1001 Nights. These people can neither read nor write. Beneath this picturesqueness, I recognized Morocco's bitter struggle to adapt her ancient way of life to modern needs.